We're going to move on now to talk about some of the technological revolutions that we've been hearing about, and broadly this theme of technological change, and what values or principles can guide that change towards some truly world-changing outcomes. And joining us now is Ken Webster, Head of Innovation at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, to delve into some of this. Now, Ken, you've spoken to us and on Circulate and elsewhere over the years about the links between circular economy and the digital revolution.
Yeah.
What are the links?
What are the links? I'm very concerned that the links are not going to be for everybody. This was brought up in a recent connection. In other words, the digital revolution could add to the extraction of value, not the circulation of it. This is a Doug Rushkoff comment. You know, is it about extracting value or circulating it? And because I'm sort of an economist, or some background in that way, I know that even Adam Smith talked about the great circulation. It was all about exchange. And so that's one of my worries with the technology, is that it can provide platforms which are so powerful that essentially the owners of the platforms can get a lot of the additional value, which is great for them. No problem with an enterprising approach, shall we say. But the question might be, where's the spending power going to be for the rest?
I read your recent piece, Ken, as you know, about bike sharing in China.
Yeah.
Which is on Circulate, medium.com/Circulate News. And it's about the sort of, many people have seen these bikes in the streets in China and the sort of crash of this sharing economy system. And in it you said something like it was a system where companies actually valued growth over profits. Can you unpick that a little bit for us? I think it links to...
Value what over profits?
Growth over profits.
Well, the amount of the...
Well, I think you were saying it's about
moving them around. Yeah, when you've got a very large platform and you've got enough people on the platform, what you've got is a data mine. Yeah. And so wherever these bikes go, because they're all tracked because they have to know where to log in and log out, you have an information about where people go. It's almost like saying, well, where do cats go? I'll put a little tag on them and then I'll let them out. And then you can see, oh, the cats like to go here. And you get the same thing. Now, there's nothing more valuable in the modern world, it seems. We saw the top 10 companies. It's digital. So if you've got a big enough network, it's called another law. It's called Metcalfe's law. Whereas you double the number of nodes, you square the number of connections. So the more nodes, wildly more connections, and then you can see very much where the opportunities are for placing retail, for perhaps talking to planners about public transport systems.
So that's why we have companies often, I think some of the ones you're talking about, bike sharing or scooter sharing is one that's kicking off in California. They're being funded by lots of venture capital and growing to grow that network.
Yeah, because if you don't have the scale, it pretty much means nothing, because you only get the benefits, the network effects, when enough scale. Now, of course, they are providing a service. It's great, you can cycle around. But the problem might be that the concern is not so much the resources, for instance, because the bikes are almost expendable with some of these firms. Oh, wherever it goes doesn't matter because we get some use and we get the data.
Because you could say, on the face of it, bike sharing, let's take that as one example, and so some of the other business models, if they're involving the sharing of an asset over and over again and making some use of those resources, and cycling, it's a clean way to travel, lots of good things about that. It's pretty circular, so what's the problem if a few people get all the money?
Well, you use the word if.
Only 10 times.
Now, there's a difference between, say, Cycle Land, which is a sort of Oxford-based, share each other's bicycles for a few pounds type system, where you're upping utilization of existing stock, between something compared to that in China, where you make hundreds and thousands, maybe millions of new bicycles, get them on the streets for a while, not properly maintained, some of them thrown in the river. You're not too worried about the resources because you don't have a dock for them. You can live with the wastage. That isn't really upping the utilization of existing assets. That's creating new assets and almost burning through them. Some firms are better than others, because unless it's kept in use and people are substituting from other modes like cars to bikes, you'd have to be able to show that there was a benefit. There could well be, but I think the jury's out on that.
So just to finish, if I was thinking about setting up the next new sharing business model with a giant network, what should I take into account to keep it circular, to ensure it delivers benefit?
One of the most interesting things is in buildings, which you probably won't be into, but well, I mean, okay, I don't know how well off you are, but instead of having your building and then selling it, build it and then sell it, you do multiple layers of renting. You rent the accommodation, you rent the white goods, you rent the heating and lighting systems, it's all part of a bundle, and you've got a materials passport, so you know what's in your building, and after 25 years, you can get a lot of your money back from the actual structure. So that's a multiple services, integrated model of housing as a service.
Well,
that can only be enabled by digital, I guess.
Enabled by digital, and I think we probably should end it there before you give away what is clearly a pretty excellent business model there.
That's okay, take it, folks.
Ken, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of the talks, and we'll catch you a bit later on.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.